Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. Today I got an unboxing of a Grail watch, and a Grail watch depends on the individual and a lot of different things. Usually Grail watches tend to be very expensive. And this was the case with my Grail watch. A Grail watch is really one that can be, you know that it's beyond your reach. There's, for example, Philippe Dufour Simplicity. They're beyond my reach. Roger Smith's watches are beyond my reach, not only because they're very expensive, but because they're rare. This particular watch has similar features. One, it's very expensive. Second of all, there weren't a lot of them, and the ones that were around weren't for sale. So it's sort of a story of how this came about. In a way, it's a, I don't want to say a story of faith, but in a way it is. The faith goes something like this: is that, yeah, you hope the watch you really like, something will drop in your lap, and if you wait long enough, you never know, and you'll be able to afford it at that point. Something like that happened, pretty much. I just sold some watches. I had a little money from that, but I didn't have enough. I had seen this watch for sale and sort of kept an eye on it, and it was more than I could afford. And so I thought, well, what I'll do, I'll just sort of write a note. And it wasn't so much an offer as sort of like, well, if it ever gets to this point, you got a buyer, basically. Okay, so it was more like that. And I didn't, I just thought, well, God figured, maybe someday if nobody else wants it, he might be able to do it. Well, I got a thing back saying, okay, let's do it. And that was pretty much how I did it. Just a little about the seller. The seller has become the West Coast distributor, I guess you might say, for Harboring 2 watches. And I love Harboring 2 watches. And the guy that used to have them on the West Coast no longer did, which is a whole other story. So that was sort of, I'd been looking at Harboring 2 watches because I had sold the one I originally had, and was thinking of getting sort of like an Irwin or one of the ones with jumping seconds or something like that. When I saw this other watch, we'll see. So without further ado, my package came, and let's see what's inside. Okay, now one of the things, I did loosen the goop on here somewhat, so it's not quite as difficult to open. Okay, that's an interesting thing. There's something called UHR craft that came with it. I'm not sure. It's about Harboring 2. It looks like it's a Harboring 2. Looks like a Harboring 2 catalog. So it doesn't surprise me because this place. By the way, the name of the place is called Horology by the Sea. The guy who runs it is great guy to work with. Like I said, as soon as I got this thing, I got it paid for, and I got it right. Ironically, it arrived on my birthday. So talk about irony. Okie doke. So let's see what we got here. right, the wrapping, one of the things I noticed almost immediately when I got the box, usually when I get a box, the thing's pretty heavy because there's usually a big heavy case in it with it. And so, you know, that's another part of it we gotta take a look at. Comes with this card here. It's a note from, let me see this thing here. Yeah, it's a nice little note, handwritten note from Brandon. He's the owner of the Horology by the Sea. I love that name. Okay, now like I said, it was pretty light, so I didn't expect there to be a box, a big box in here, and this is the packaging. Here's the irony, if you want to call it that, is that this is a similar kind of packaging, not the same. The ones we have that Larique has, ours are made of leather and they look a little different than this. Okay, so now let's take a look and see what we got. Aha. Okay, I don't know if you've heard me mention before, but one of the movements by Parmigiani that I always liked was called the hebdomadario. And it's basically an 8-day hand-wound movement. On the other side of it is a pantograph. It's a ovale pantograph. Ovale is for oval, and pantograph is for the telescoping hands that the watch has. I'll have to I'll have to take some more pictures and things of it. Let me do this. I'm going to talk about the rest of this, and I'll have some pictures and things so you can get a better view of it. Be right back. Okay, hi again. I got on my new watch. The full name of this is the Parmigiani Fleurier Oval Pantograph. It's got 3 functions. I guess you could call it 4 functions if you want to push it a little. It has hours and minutes, and then it has a date, and then it has the power reserve. That would be the 4th function, I guess. The watch itself, I think it's a very pretty watch. It's a good size watch, 45 by 37, but it doesn't seem to wear that big. I'll put it that way, because most of the size is going across the wider part of your wrist, so it doesn't seem as wide as some other watches are. The dial is made of enamel, and seems like it's a very deep enamel. If you take a look at the 2 windows, the power reserve window and the date window, you can see it sort of goes down. So it has the printed indices and markings on it on top of the enamel. Now the movement is called the hebdomadario. Okay, I probably mispronounced it several times, but I think hebdomadario is pretty close. And the movement is caliber PF 111, 3 hertz, which I like. It's hand wound, another thing I like. 192 hours reserve. In other words, 8 days. Hebdomadario means weekly, so that's where the name comes from. It also comes, there's the same movement, or almost the same, comes in another one called the PF 110. And PF is for Parmigiani Fleurier, both of which are designed by Michel Parmigiani. The movements, I think it was 2011 when this first came out, and at that time they owned Vasseur, or the Sandoz Family Foundation owned, uh, who owns Parmigiani, also owns Vasseur. They also owned the Atto Coppa, which made the hairspring and the balance wheel, and the case was made by a company called Les Artisans Boitiers. This is the part of this larger entity called the Sandoz Family Foundation. Okay, so they have a vertical watch operation going on. It's got a very nice swan neck regulator on there, and it has these big plates. I like the little finger bridges more so. And on this one, the plates have really very nice beveling on it, or ongles. One of the things that I noticed about this, I took a look at some other hebdomadaire movements, and I noticed they had regular screws. I forgot whether they had straight or they had the Phillips head. But these, I noticed, they have two-hole screws. These, which you need a special screwdriver. It's sort of a message like, don't mess with this. Send it into Parmigiani if you want some service on it. So I thought that was sort of interesting. Okay, so let's find out a little more about this. Now, before he began doing watchmaking from the start, Michel Parmigiani worked with restoration, and the Sandoz Family Foundation owned this incredible collection of watch collection, including this one by Vardon and Stedman. These are two Englishmen, and that was where they got the idea of having the telescoping hands. And it works on the same principles as a pantograph. I always wondered why they call it a pantograph and not telescoping hands or something like that. This is what a pantograph looked like way back in the 17th century. It was a copy machine. What you did, you took, and this one, by the way, the one pictured there is you can move around those are hardwood sticks, and you can adjust them so that what you write can come out larger or smaller on the copied one. So the name pantograph comes from, basically it means copy writing. Pano means from pantomime or mimic, and graph, of course, means write. So that's where the name pantograph comes from. Now, in how they do it, this fascinated me, because you have the ovale, is from the oval shape of the watch. It uses cams, and how exactly I don't know, but you can see it's sort of the center shaft is pretty big one on there, and it looks interesting. It looks just like the one that Varon and Stedman had back in that they made in 1780. This big fat center shaft, and the reason it's big, it has all of these cams in there, and as the cams move, they affect the width of the telescoping amount of the hands. Fascinating watch. I've always been. This is why, to me, it's been a Grail watch. The big thing that's been between me and the Grail watch, of course, is the price. The original ones of this particular model was, I think, 55,000 Swiss francs back in 2011. They actually, like I said, they actually came out with sort of two different models. The first model, it was a very limited edition, and the second model, which is this one, came out in a bigger edition. Still, still though, they were beyond what I could afford. Uh, the the lugs on these things, these uh, are called horn lugs, and they look like giant wrist eaters. But the fact of the matter is that they conform to the shape of the wrist. A lot of other Parmigianis have these big horn lugs on them, and but they look like they're going to eat your wrist, but they're very, very comfortable. You don't even know you have it on, and especially when you have a good sized watch on, you don't have to. What's that on my wrist? You don't even notice it. Now, what I did, I tried looking at the thing at different times, and sometimes this can be a challenge with a watch like this. For example, I put some different times up there. 6:15 or 3:30. You're looking at that, and I wonder which one that is. I think it's 6:15, and one of the ways you can tell is that the minute hand extends all the way down into the numbers, and you get the full extension at 6 and 12. Um, the one next to it says 337, 347. There you have things that are squished in a little because the hour hands and the minute hand are both in the narrower side of the oval. The one up on the corner at 9 o'clock, you have the greatest and the least. So you have the greatest extension of the minute hand is on the 12, and then the hour hand's on the 9. And then down at the bottom there, where 11:36, is that you have the greatest extension of both of them. And then over the one over in the corner, 9:50, that can be a challenge because is it really 9:50? Well, I guess that would be about the only thing it could be. It could be something else. But anyway, this is why I said it celebrates some mindfulness of time. You got to look at it, but it sort of doesn't take too much to figure it out. If the sun's up and it's morning, it's going to be 9:15 instead of 3:15, things like that. Anyway, this is my Grail watch. I hope you have a Grail watch. And like I said, I never thought I could afford this. And one day I had the watches available and so forth, and one came my way. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your Grail watch is. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.